I'm Tonya, 32. Standing in the lobby of what was once my father's company, I watched as the executives, including my father, sat around the table, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. Walter Reed, the CEO of Summit Enterprises, had just announced that Summit was acquiring the company, and I was to be the transition director. The irony was palpable. Just 6 months ago, I'd been turned away from my father's 60th birthday party because I didn't look rich enough. My childhood was idyllic at first. My mom passed away from cancer when I was 8, leaving just me and my dad, Henry. He was a hard, working man, building a medium-sized construction company from the ground up. Despite his long hours, he always made time for me, telling me stories about my mom every night before bed. I idolized him. Everything changed when I was 14. Dad met Vanessa at a business event. She was a high-profile marketing consultant, all glitz and glamour. At first, I was happy for him. He'd been alone for so long, and seeing him smile again was like a breath of fresh air. But Vanessa came with her own set of problems. She had 2 children, Jake and Lily, who were 12 and 16 respectively. Vanessa was obsessed with social status. Our cozy 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood wasn't good enough for her. Within a year of their marriage, we moved into a mansion in the most exclusive part of town. Dad started working even longer hours to keep up with the lavish lifestyle Vanessa demanded. From that point on, I felt like an outsider in my own family. Vanessa would forget to tell me about family events and then scold me for not dressing appropriately when I showed up. Jake, who barely passed his classes, was celebrated for every small achievement, while my straight report cards received only a passing comment. Lily, with her designer clothes and average grades, was held up as an example of a well-rounded person. Tonya, why can't you be more like Lily, became a common refrain. When it came to college, I wanted to study business, following in my dad's footsteps. But he discouraged me. Business is tough, Tonya. Maybe teaching would be a better fit for a girl, he said. Vanessa just laughed and said I was too independent. The only one who believed in me was Grandpa Thompson, Dad's father. A retired construction foreman, he was a man of integrity and hard work. He would take me out for lunch every Sunday during my senior year of high school. Your grandma and I are saving money for your education. Don't tell your dad, he whispered one day. He's lost sight of what's important. With Grandpa's financial support and scholarships, I went to a well-respected state university, majoring in business administration with a minor in finance. I graduated summa cum laude, but Dad and Vanessa left right after the ceremony, missing the honors reception. Lily has a dance performance. Dad apologized. After graduation, I landed an entry-level position at Summit Enterprises, one of the largest construction conglomerates in the region. What they didn't know was that Grandpa had worked at Summit for 30 years before retiring. I wanted to prove myself on my own merits, and over the next 5 years, I worked my way up from an administrative assistant to a junior executive. I kept my success quiet from my family. Whenever I visited for holidays, I downplayed my job. Dad never asked about my career, and Vanessa was too busy bragging about Jake getting a job at a startup or Lily's new modeling gig. Then, the invitation to Dad's 60th birthday party arrived. It was printed on expensive cardstock and held at the most exclusive country club in the city. I thought it might be a chance for us to reconnect. I called to RSVP, and Vanessa answered. Tonya, you're coming? How nice. It's a black tie event, so make sure you dress appropriately, she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. I had a simple black evening dress from a work event last year. It was elegant but not designer. A week before the party, I heard rumors at work that Summit was considering acquiring a local construction company. That same day, Dad texted me, saying he was looking forward to introducing me to some important business connections at the party. I allowed myself a glimmer of hope. 2 days before the party, Vanessa called again. Tonya, what are you planning to wear? Jake will be in a custom-made suit, and Lily has a Versace dress. Maybe you should buy something new. I told her my dress was appropriate, but she insisted that there would be high-profile guests, including some from Summit. I called Grandpa, and he told me that Dad's company was in financial trouble. Vanessa's spending has been out of control, and the company has been mismanaged for years, he said. This party is more of a business meeting to find investors. The night of the party, I arrived early, wearing my black dress and a pearl necklace that had belonged to my mom. I saw Dad standing alone by a flower arrangement. For a moment, he looked like the father I remembered. "Dad, happy birthday," I said, handing him a carefully wrapped gift. But then Vanessa appeared, wearing a skin-tight red dress that must have cost a fortune. She whispered something in Dad's ear, and his expression changed. "Tonya, there's been a change of plans. The guest list had to be trimmed, and your dress, it's not quite right for this event," Dad said, his voice barely above a whisper. I was stunned. "You're turning me away because of my dress?" I asked. Vanessa stepped in and said, "These people judge by appearances, Tonya. We can't have you looking like you're from the wrong side of the tracks." I was heartbroken. I turned to leave, but as I did, I saw the CEO of Summit, Walter Reed, walking in. The irony was almost too much to bear. The drive home was a blur of tears. The next day, Grandpa called. He'd spoken to Walter Reed at the party and told him about my career at Summit. Walter was impressed, Grandpa said. "Don't be surprised if you get a call." Sure enough, I received an email from Walter's assistant, asking me to meet with him the next morning. At the meeting, Walter explained that Summit was acquiring Dad's company and that they needed someone with both business knowledge and personal insight to oversee the transition. I was hesitant, but I knew it was an opportunity. I agreed on the condition that I could make decisions based on business, not personal feelings. Now, standing in the conference room, I took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Good morning, everyone. Over the next 90 days, I'll be evaluating all aspects of the company to ensure a smooth integration with Summit." Dad looked at me in disbelief, and Vanessa's face turned red with anger. The following weeks were intense. Jake started spreading rumors that I was using my position for revenge, and Lily filed a complaint about my evaluation criteria. But I handled everything professionally, and their attempts to undermine me failed. One evening, about 3 weeks into the transition, Dad came to my temporary office. "Can we talk, not as boss and employee, but as father and daughter?" he asked. We sat down, and he apologized for the party and for the way he'd treated me over the years. "I got caught up in Vanessa's world of appearances, and I lost sight of what really mattered," he said. We talked late into the night, and for the first time in years, I felt like we were starting to understand each other again. Dad also asked about the future of his position and those of Vanessa, Jake, and Lily. I told him that everyone would be evaluated based on their performance and skills. 2 months later, the preliminary evaluations were complete. It was clear that Vanessa, Jake, and Lily's positions were not sustainable in the new structure. I recommended that they be reassigned to roles that matched their actual qualifications. Vanessa invited me to a family dinner. I knew it wouldn't be pleasant, but I went anyway. At the dinner, she tried to undermine me, saying I was jealous and using my position for revenge. But I stood my ground, explaining that the company had been mismanaged for years to support their lavish lifestyles. Dad finally saw the truth. He realized that Vanessa had been more concerned with her own status than the well-being of the company. He decided to take a step back and focus on the parts of the business he was good at. 6 months after the acquisition, the company was thriving. Jake had accepted a junior position at Summit, and Lily was working at a local fashion store. Vanessa had filed for divorce, and Dad was slowly rebuilding his life. Recently, we held a company celebration. As regional director, I presented awards to top performing employees. Dad stood up and said, "I nearly lost everything, but thanks to Summit and my daughter, Tonya, we have a second chance. I'm proud of what we've all accomplished together." Looking back on this journey, I know it was painful, but it also made me stronger. I've learned that family is about more than blood. It's about love, respect, and support. And sometimes the greatest gift is the opportunity to make things right.